We go really back. We go back to the drawing board and just like throw everything. Like nothing clicks. And then somebody's like, okay, let's just like build stuff. Like your supporting system will support you at times that you need it, and sometimes it actually is not the case. Well, it was hard. We felt that we were like losers. What are we doing here? Like we've gone through YC and now we don't even know what to do. I would say find like a niche that you're like semi-passionate about. You'll get more passionate about it if you're actually doing well. Like I would have never imagined I would be selling to logistics companies, and now like I love it. It's great. Sometimes the customer might not even know themselves that they have that pain. We're at $0 of revenue in January 24. Today we're at 2.2 million.
That's product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
I call it the product market fit question.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit. Product market fit.
I mean, the name of the show is Product Market Fit.
Think back to the last few months, the last few years as you've been running the startup. How many different founders have helped you out? The reality is founders help each other out. That's just who founders are. They pay it forward. So help a founder out. Take literally 5 seconds, take your phone out of your pocket and hit 5 stars.
Pablo, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Pablo. Good to meet you, man. Thank you.
Dude, man. So, I reached out. I basically said, listen, you just raised a name. We have the same name. So, like, you have to come on the show. And you're like, yeah, that's legit.
Great sales approach. Yeah, I loved it.
It worked. Man. Well, anyways, though, look, it's exciting to have you here. I mean, you went through YC. You raised a $15.6 million Series A from A16, which I think, YC's got like that brand name. A16 certainly, like Sequoia, for example, has that brand name. I think for a lot of early stage founders, you're just kind of on the path that they want to be on as well. So I think the goal here is I just want to walk through your journey, talk about some of the things you had to do. Like I think from the outside looking in, you see these, got to YC news, you got the Series A news, and it just seems like up and to the right, person must be killing it. I'm sure you are, but I'm also sure there's a lot of pain along the way. So like, we'll get through all that. Maybe just to start off, I mean, tell me a bit about like Happy Robot. Like, where did the idea like come from? Like, what's the origin story?
So to actually answer that question, there's multiple stories, of course, to tell. The most fun one about the name actually relates to our prior live in computer vision. So I'll explain that one as well. But I think if I want to explain like how we got here, I should probably talk about the founders. So the founding team is my brother, Javi. I'm my best buddy from uni, Luis. He's my CTO. I met Luis in my second day of college. He basically is sitting next to me, and this guy is like, hey, do you have a piece of paper? Like, dude, like first day of like class, like you come to like your first physics class, no like pencil or paper. Sure, yeah, here we go. I was like,
and this is college where, by the way? Is this in the US?
This is in Spain, actually. So-called industrial engineering, pretty much a bit of a mix of everything. We did like from robotics to chemistry. So like, we actually majored, if you will, on like robotics. But yeah, like these guys just like a great dude. We actually go and like build stuff together during college. We did like a robotics underwater robot, like a submarine, so shaped, like basically like a group that would build like a submarine, like go to a competition in like Italy or whatever. It was fun. We did that kind of stuff. We then worked together during our masters. This is another funny story. Like we were starting our first year masters, and I'm like, hey, I just like found my first job. He's like, oh, me too. Like, oh, cool. Where? Like, yeah, this drone detection startup. I'm like, dude, I'm also starting like a drone detection. Looks like our paths haven't like crossed or like just we're meant to like work together. Same with my brother. He's been like always like pushing me to like do stuff on like computer science. Like he was almost like guiding me toward like, let's build a mini co-founder here. Like he's like 10 years older than me, and he's always been like almost like creating like his perfect co-founder, if you will. So he's doing that. I think this speaks about the importance of something Michael Seibel from one of YC's partners and most probably one of the most well-known recently due to the podcast he has or like the YouTube videos he does. Michael talks about, one of the co-founders of what is now Twitch, Justin TV before. He talks about the importance of college as a way to find buddies to work with. I think that's actually true. Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, like my CTO Luis and my co-founder Luis. It's just like that one of those things that you don't get to find if you like don't go through like painful things together with your founders, if you're a co-founder.
I remember like Paul Graham, obviously another legend from YC. His like formula when he's asked like, "Hey, how do you start a startup? How do you come up with ideas?" was similar to that. It was just like find people you like, work with them on something that you're interested in, and just kind of keep doing that. I don't remember his wording, but it was something like that. It was a little bit more poetic, but basically that's the idea. Like just find people you like, find things you like working on, and just start working together on things, random things, and just go down rabbit holes, and then out of there maybe you'll come up with something interesting. Versus trying to force it out, starting with a pitch deck. Like that's never a good play. I did that actually, by the way. I know exactly what it's like. It's not good. Don't do that.
Ask your co-founders. They're like it is a marriage, and it's even worse probably than marriage, because there's a lot of hard decisions to make. And we actually went through like a lot of those. I mean, maybe fast forward to when I was doing my PhD in Munich. I started my PhD in computer vision, if you will, like deep learning, AI, computer vision stuff in Munich in the group of Matthias Niesner and Angela Dai. Matthias Niesner is actually one of the co-founders of Synthesia, a unicorn now like on the video synthesis side of things. So thankfully, I'm lucky enough to work with these guys on like the bleeding edge of like computer vision. I learned a lot during that phase. It started in 2020. Back in 2020, like AI was not really like a term you would use. It would be more like computer vision, deep learning.
Yeah, there was the hype before like 2010, and then it went down, and then until ChatGPT, like then it just brought right back to the forefront. AI became like real end of 22.
And we just use the term, I guess, so that the broader masses understand what is going on there. Like they don't probably understand deep learning, but yeah, it was that early stages, I guess, of like, transformers had just like started to be a term back in 2017, right? Like it was still starting. But yeah, super grateful for that time. I did a couple of years of the PhD, did some cool papers in like the CVPR, if that rings a bell to folks in the computer vision arena. Europe, like had a couple of papers there. And at some point I'm like, dude, this is not for me. Like I'm not like a writing machine, which is a bit of what the research world is for. So I tell my professor, Angela, who had been great supporting me along the way, like, this is not for me. I just want to like do something on my own. And I literally quit the PhD. And back in 2022, February, I still remember like the last day, like, okay, this is it. Like I'm just like on my own now. And I tell Luis, dude, just come to Munich, which is where we were at the time, or what I was at the time. Come to Munich. Let's just like build or just rent a place and build stuff. I don't even know what. At that time, it was like, let's just do some computer vision stuff because I guess I know something about it. Come to Munich, we do stuff together, and then we like go from there. We also like involve my brother Javi, who, like as I mentioned before, we had always like been thinking about doing stuff together, and we just like go from there. Like we start ideating what we can do. I start in the synthesis of like training images, like basically like virtual worlds for like training robots with like fake images. That makes sense. Like that space was interesting for us. We go and build for like 3 months without talking to a customer. First mistake. Never do that. So we go.
What were you building at that point?
So we were building like an engine, like a virtual reality engine, if you will, for computer vision models to be trained faster. So basically create fake images from like, I don't know, like we were trying to detect, let's say drones as the example before. You would just like randomly place 3D models of drones in the world, in like a virtual world, and just like render those images. So like you would just try to like improve computer vision models by generating fake images, pretty much.
Which is it's a real space. I know there's big business like in autonomous driving, right? They need a lot of synthetic data, and so there's a lot of like kind of simulations that are being built just for that purpose.
I was actually one of the problems. Like these large players, this is critical to them, so they would build that internally. There was actually a company that went under or like just wrapped up. It was an Israeli company that were like pretty big in that kind of synthesis or like fake imagery generation space. That really had to like shut down because, like at the end of the day, it's computer vision is actually tricky. Like there's just not enough enterprises that need that. And the ones that actually need it, it's so core. Like think like Cruise or like Waymo, like it's core to them. Like they're not going to like outsource that to like a shitty startup.
That's legit. Yeah, that makes sense. But you didn't know because you didn't talking to them. You're just building.
We were just building, man. We just found one customer It was like, oh yeah, perfect. We found it. Like now we have a customer. They were not even paying. So it was like, we're billing for these. It was a super cool German startup. Kudos to them. They were like really good to us. They were just basically building like a model for detecting capacity for solar panels, detecting different types of rooftops and whatever. So we just like started randomly generating images of rooftops for these guys so that they could like train better models. And I remember going with Luis, like walking down the street there in that village we lived in near Munich. Dude, that's like a saddle roof. Oh wait, that's like a flat roof or whatever. Like, oh yeah, let's like generate more of those 3D models and render that. This is crazy. Like we're just like building for no one. So first mistake, we learned a little bit, I guess, because that summer in 2022, we then pivoted to actually more of a auto labeling tool. I don't know if you've been following that kind of phase of like SAM and all these tools that started popping up. Like basically you would just like not even have to generate fake images. You would just like literally show an image to a model that already kind of has a bit of knowledge about the world. You would just basically say, hey, this is a strawberry. And it would basically compute an embedding, a so-called embedding, or like a representation of that strawberry. And it'd be like, okay, now I know what you mean. I can find it in other images. So that's auto labeling, if you will. And that's something that is really helpful for computer vision projects, because you like essentially 10x or 100x your productivity in terms of model creation. So we started going down that route. It seemed like there was more use cases that we could tackle with that. Robotics companies were like pretty interested.
In this like phase, did you start talking to more customers?
We did. We started talking to more folks, also like outside of like Europe, if you will. We got like some initial traction here in some robotics companies in the US. And we applied to YC with almost like the idea. That was summer, like that was going to be for like winter 23, I guess. So we applied. We actually got into the interview. I remember like having that interview, our first interview with YC folks, literally having like nothing to show. I mean, just like some platform that was not even in production yet with some of those customers, but like starting to be something real. And they're like, okay, like we got rejected, obviously, but it was okay. Yeah, this looks interesting. Doesn't it feel like it's like exactly the same as like Scale AI is doing, or like RoboFlow is doing? Kudos to Joseph from RoboFlow. He's also been a bit of an inspiration for us back in the day with computer vision. We actually play soccer on Mondays here in San Francisco, so that's anyhow. So it was a bit of a this like sounds too familiar. There's the computer vision space is like tricky. Not to say that it's not going to be like there's not going to be big businesses built around it, but like it's kind of come to like a small end for now. Realistically, there's just like less companies building or that need computer vision stuff. We got rejected. We were still like pushing. That was like January 23.
Was that like a punch to the face for you guys, or was it just like whatever, we didn't get in, no big deal? Or did you like take it and reflect like, oh shit, we really thought we wanted to get a YC, like why not?
It was a big punch, but just for like a week. Like it was sad, like like it's our dream. We really want to go there, build in San Francisco, whatever. But it was like, okay, we'll just keep building. We have like they're like waiting for us to like do cool stuff. Let's just keep going. So we actually keep going. We continue like getting some traction. And we got to a point where like we had like 50K in ARR, like something that obviously is like hard, but also like in retrospect, like stupid. Like it's like we were feeling so proud, like like people are actually paying. But I mean, it's actually hard to like get your first
100%. Like it's hard. It's interesting you say that, because I mean that 0 to 1 moment is a big deal. Like it's really hard to get somebody to part with their money for anything. But then on the flip side is you don't want to like overweight it either, because 50K ARR is like actually trivially small. So it sometimes makes you think like you have something more than what you do. So it's a balancing act, right? It's not easy, but it is real. It's a meaningful and hard thing to do, to get anybody to pay even $1 for anything.
And that was one of our problems actually. And I'll speak about it in a minute. Basically, the problem was we indexed too much on the fact that we had someone paying, and it was a painful process because it was harder for us to pivot away from what we were doing. Prior to that, maybe before I go into that, I'll probably maybe briefly mention like about the state of things in Germany, which is what we started building stuff. We didn't even have a company back then. Like we hadn't even incorporated. It was just like a couple of guys doing stuff because we knew that we were going to incorporate in the US.
And how, by the way, like how many months at this point? You started when? Early 22 to just build?
We started officially March 1st, 2022.
Okay. And how are you guys paying yourself? Like just basic stuff. Like what's the personal runway situation like?
Just our own savings, pretty
Eating
much.
ramen noodles. Like you guys living together and stuff, or what was the setup?
Yeah, we were living together, Luis and I, in this little village next to Munich. Really thankful to the FOs from the incubator there in the TU Munich, the Technical University of Munich. They helped us a lot. There were some grants that we actually had access to on a personal level. So that was helpful. I was actually going to bring out this topic of the whole like grant system. It was great for us. It worked, but we saw other folks that were just like living off of that. Like, oh, this is a dream. We're doing startup.
It's addictive. Yeah, it's addictive. You can get hooked on grants.
Yeah. And they would just like keep going for like these mini grants. Like, oh, we got another 30K grant. Great. Now you can like they actually forced you to like spend it on stuff. Sometimes like, oh, you need to actually use this for like stuff. Like we almost like bought some computers because we actually had to like use that grant. And some folks do that. And unfortunately, I have a couple of cases from good friends there from Munich that recently had to like shut down their companies because they just ran out of the 1 million that they got. I mean, we didn't get as much. It was more on a personal level to like live and pay ourselves minimum wage or whatever, like just eat. But these guys got actually like $1 million to like build something. And transparently, they were building on the medical space. So like pretty complex. Like they're like trying to really solve important problems. But you need more than that, and you need like a better ecosystem. You need like
and you can get carried away. Like we have this in Canada as well. Like I think in the US maybe there's less so, but I know in Europe and in Canada, like there's a lot of these grants, and they can be useful if you leverage them the right way. But they are addictive, and I mean that because you can start building for the grants where like you get into this mindset of like, how do I get the next grant? How do I get the next grant? So we did that actually. We made that mistake. But I one of the things, dude, I hadn't thought about this since it happened probably, but like just a funny, stupid little anecdote. When we were young, like, kind of just off university when we started gym track, I guess a decade ago. And so every dollar counted, man. Like every dollar counted, right? Like, and I remember there was these Facebook kind of contests, like to win random stuff. I don't remember what even the end goal was, but we found one, and it was to win like a Lenovo computer, like tower, you know what I mean? Like back then, dude. And we just like, oh, we're gonna win this tower. Like it was we didn't even need we didn't need a computer. We just got so many people to just like, you needed people to like your project. That's what it was. It was like you submitted an idea for a business and they wanted, I don't remember what the idea, who was the sponsor, I guess Lenovo, but what the goal was. So we got people to just click our project. Then we got this computer, and then we sold it for like on like Craigslist or whatever. We got like $600, and that was a few sandwiches or whatever that paid for. But like the stupid little things you do, man, just to like get to the next week. But it's, I don't know. It's kind of all part. It's part of the fun for sure, but it is kind of a little bit part of the game. Just that like resourcefulness. Every dollar counts.
I think it's tricky, right? Like you can optimize for the wrong thing. Like you're optimizing for like these grants or like winning that Lenovo or whatever. Like you're optimizing for the wrong thing versus talking to customers and building shit.
Exactly.
The whole YC model, like just build something people want, iterate. Just like super simple, but super hard at the same time.
But like you said, there is a reality, which, you do have to eat. So it's like, how do you find, you get into YC, you get some seed funding, great, just optimize for that. But like, if you need like to eat and pay rent this month, like these grants can do that. But you can get hooked. So yeah, it's a fine line.
It's a very fine line. So at some point, I guess going back to the story there, so at some point it's 2023, like January. I remember actually December 2022, it had been almost like, I guess 10 months since we had started like building stuff. Nothing there yet. Like we had some pilots that we're starting with. I think we maybe have like 30, 40 kids at some point in December 2022. And I remember sitting down with my brother and co-founder Javi in our place in Spain, visiting family during Christmas. We're like building these like business plan for like raising some money. And at that point, it was more like, okay, this is starting to like feel more serious because now we're like trying to get some seed money. One of the things I've actually realized in building a company is if you really want things, they actually can happen. And sometimes, like that can actually, that can be great, but be prepared that things can actually happen. Like I wasn't prepared to like be leading a team of 15 folks now, like having to like have back-to-back meetings with enterprise customers every day. Do I like it all the time? Maybe not. But be prepared to actually go through this. Like in paper, it sounds all amazing, but then there's like a lot of hard work that you'll have to go through. Anyhow, a bit of a disclaimer there that if you really want things, they can happen, and sometimes it can be like not what do you expect, which we can talk later, right? Like there's a lot of things today that I'm like, I wasn't expecting me doing this kind of bullshit stuff for running a company, but you have to.
It's a legit tangent for what it's worth. And I think like, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. And sometimes I've met some, like, obviously you go down the venture train, like that's one path and you could build something massive. But sometimes I meet founders who bootstrapped the business that people would have called lifestyle through it. But now they have like a $10 million, $20 million top line business, spitting out profits. Nobody can tell them what to do. Nobody can tell them they have to grow next year. It's just like, and you look at that and you're like, that's winning. That's also winning for sure in a big way, right? And anyways, yeah, be careful what you wish for. I think is legit.
That's the sentence I was looking for. Be careful what you wish for sure. So anyhow, we're like planning this seed round, and that's like January now, 2023. Like we actually start talking to some VCs in Germany or in Europe. That's not VCs. Like, I mean, sorry, but that is not VCs. Like if you talk to someone and they tell you like, oh yeah, great, let us know when you like find a lead, or like let us know when you like have like a lot more, like a 500,000 revenue. I don't know, like I'm just making it up, but like
Sure. Yeah.
in Europe it's really hard to actually find people to just like literally throw money at you, like let's see what happens. And we actually had that with a VC in the valley that we fortunately were able to connect to somehow. Array Ventures, they were our first, actually our third check. We had like,
And this is still pre-YC.
this is pre-YC. This is January 2023.
And had you shifted at all? Like ChatGPT had happened. Are you guys talking about this at this point?
Man, that was again like the biggest mistake we did. Like we were just like, oh, these LLMs shit, like what is that? Like that's not gonna work. Like we're just like focused on our thing. Like computer vision is our mode because Pablo has the PhD in computer vision. Big mistake. Like over indexing on like what you think you're good at and harm. Like be more open-minded. I think that's also like one of the learnings we got. Like just be open-minded, see what's going on in the world. Like don't just like not read the news and like be coding in a cave for forever, because one, you're not going to talk to customers. Two, you're not going to like see what's going on in the world in terms of technology. So that was a big mistake. And I remember it clearly with Luis sitting down there in Munich at something like, these people with the LLMs, this is not going to go anywhere. Like, what is that? Like, so anyhow, that was a bit of that mistake.
It's tough because you're also taught to like be focused, right? And so like once you go down a path, you want to like hone in on it and not be distracted. This is like startups are so this weird like almost seeming like contradictions or cognitive dissonance, I guess is the right word, where like you have to be focused but not too focused. You don't want to chase grades, but like a little bit. Yeah. It's weird, but that's what makes it hard.
Startups are not intuitive. That's what
Yes.
that really is what the whole learning we've gotten so far about startups. They're just not intuitive. Like there's things, especially in the early beginnings, that just like is not what you would expect. And in this case, yeah, that was a bit of that. Like actually the biggest one is always like, oh, I'll first have to build like the product and then I go to customers. That's the biggest mistake you can do. And the most obvious one that is unintuitive actually, like, oh, don't I need to have something to sell? Like if I ask my mom, it's like, oh yeah, I guess you first build it and then you go sell it. It's like, not really. It's a balancing act. So that was obviously the biggest learning about startups that one can get from YC or really any medium today. But anyhow, going back to like our seed round preparation, yeah, I remember like making that bullshit about like the projections for the company. Like, what are we doing here? But we just felt that we needed to do something like that, which then we learned when we went to YC afterwards that like you don't need that if you have certain leverage, aka if you're like part of YC, that just goes away. You just need like 10 fucking slides and like that's it. Like that's that you don't need like a business plan or whatever. But anyhow, we're like building our little business plan there. We reached out to people. It was really funny. Like I was having these call at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. this Monday. I had like talked to like some VCs there in the European world. And I was like devastated. Like no one was like talking to us like seriously. Like, oh great, you're like building some little cool stuff with like computer vision. Oh, you have like 2 customers. Great. Let's just talk later. And I was like kind of pissed and like sad. And then I get this call, or I accept this call from some random guy that reached out to us from Zurich, this PhD guy wrapping up his PhD in computer vision and robotics. I'm like, what does he want? Like, does he want to like work for us? Like, does he want to learn what we're doing? And then I just like talk to him like, what's up? Yeah, how's it going? I'm always trying to be nice, but at that point I was like super tired. And then at the end of the call, so I do like angel investments, and I really love these things that you guys have built. The tech was really cool, right? So the tech piece was like super fascinating. What we were doing with the auto labeling, like just click here, like auto label an entire data set of strawberries or whatever. So like the tech was cool, and these guys like, I actually do angel investment. Do you want to like get like a 25K check? What do you say there? Yeah, like I do some tickets. I'm like, do people do that? Like, where do you get that money from? Like, do you rob a bank? Or
So this is totally foreign to you, like being in the ecosystem you were.
super foreign. Like I didn't even know like people could like. I mean, we had heard some stuff about like YC. We had like watched all the videos, whatever. But I didn't know that people would actually do that. Like, oh yeah, let me just like throw 25K at you, see what happens. Obviously, this guy now is like happy that we're like going so far, because you never know like what's gonna happen with three guys that are just like trying to build stuff and they actually want to do it. So that was our first check actually, back in again like January 23. And then we got another guy to like the CEO of one of the largest consulting companies in Spain to actually do another 50K check. And then we go from there. And then suddenly we are connected to these VC in San Francisco, and they're like, oh, it's just to like $500,000. That's big deal for us. Like that's going to let us like.
That's real money. That's real money. Yeah, that moves the needle.
Now we're talking like that's real money. Now we can start really working full time on these, because at the time, Javi, he was still working. He was not working in Happy but he was just like supporting us from the sidelines. There's some help that he was doing here and there for certain things, financially also, like thinking strategically, but he was working somewhere else, and he was more of a mentor and advisor to the company, almost like, like just doing stuff, but in the sidelines. Anyhow, we were really pressured to like get some money so that he could join full time, because we knew that if he didn't join full time, there was not going to be like a company. Like we needed to all be in the same boat, suffering the same pain of like not getting paid, like just doing stuff. So yeah, like it was a big deal. We went for it. We probably could have optimized a bit better for terms. As much as we love Array, I always say that they got a great deal, which is, like we they didn't put a gun in your head, but as
well, like for $500,000, they got what, like 10% of the business?
Roughly.
Okay, not bad.
Eventually they did another $500,000, because it was the SVB time. You remember the Silicon Valley Bank stuff?
Yeah, of course.
We got really scared, man. We got really scared, and my brother is like, dude, we need to get more. Like we need to get more money. Like we just need to get more now that it's possible. After these, everything's gonna collapse. And I was like that as well. Like, hey, let's get more. And then our CTO is like, you know that if we raise too much now, like we're diluting ourselves. And also, do we need that much money? Sure, yeah, we need more. Why not? Which again is one of those balancing acts.
I know it's tough, but back then you do. SVB was crashing, FTX crashed, the whole macro was turning around. Like, it wasn't a bad idea to get more optionality. Yeah, it's more dilution, but if you make it to the end, you'll be fine. If you don't make it, that's gonna be a problem.
That's true. That's also something that we chat about with our partners at A16Z now. Like, hey, equity doesn't mean anything if you don't really build a big business, which it's true. So anyhow, we got that money. We maybe could have raised on better terms. But Ine is like super thankful as well for Ray like trusting us there early. And what I would mention there is the disadvantage of being a European founder. Maybe let's like touch on that a little bit. Being a European founder already like has like some form of like aura on you that actually like a bad aura. Like, oh, these guys can actually like, we can get
more of a stink than an aura, but yeah, I agree with you.
It's more of that sting, actually. I agree. That do help in getting, like either customers or VCs to trust us, except for Array in that case. And also like the terms obviously are typically worse, especially if you don't understand what a good term, like you don't have a network of people to like ask. At the time, we just knew like a few people around, but we didn't have like, oh, let me ask my buddy Matt about what he did in his prior round. I'll just like pick up the phone and call him because I have his WhatsApp. That is not the case as much in Europe. And there's just like not that many successes, I guess. And also like in Europe, they do weird stuff with like price rounds from the very beginning. Like you'll just like raise a price round for like have a 5 million valuation. Like you'll just raise like 1 million at 5 or whatever. And it'll be like a price round, which is a lot of paperwork. Germany loves their paperwork. You have to go to the notary every time you like do a round. I'll like sign through like 800 pages or something. I've never done it, but I've heard that's the case.
I saw that post too. But I'll say something, Pablo. Like the other thing is you don't have the knowledge. You also, in a sense, don't have the power. Like even if you go back to these guys, you're like, well, actually, the value should be 10 because my friends are all raising it 10. Maybe they move to a little bit, or maybe they just say like, okay, well then go find somebody. And you're like, I don't have anybody. All right, fine, 35. Like what are you gonna do?
So yeah, I think that speaks to the fact that being in SF, where the value is, it does pay off. It does give you that aura. So as much as it is hard to get a visa and everything, I'd highly recommend folks to obviously try to get here somehow. It just gives you that aura, not the stink of like someone that is building like cool stuff. Especially if you add the whole AI thing.
You add the AI, you add the YC. Like in the early days, that stuff, I mean, it makes a difference. There's no doubt about it.
So anyhow, we got that money. We had like $1 million point something from these angels and Array Ventures, and it was great, like perfect. We have money now, but do we apply to YC again? So that was like the whole like conundrum. Like, what do we do? Like, we don't need the money, but we also want to go for YC because YC, right?
We have tens of thousands of people who have followed the show. Are you one of those people? You want to be a part of the group. You want to be a part of those tens of thousands of followers. So hit the follow button.
Was it more, what was it that called you, right? Was it more the brand, the network, the learning? Like out of all three, what really was the thing you really wanted?
It was the network, like being part of the startup ecosystem. Like from Munich, we honestly couldn't have been part of like what we are today. I mean, it would have been harder. So it was definitely like that ecosystem, like being part of the team, the people that are actually building stuff here. So yeah, it was like a no-brainer for us. We did apply. Some people were like, oh, why are you doing that? Like, you don't need the money. But it was clear for us. We wanted to do it. So we applied. We get into the interview again. That was again like probably April, May 2023. We did the interview with Diana, who was an amazing partner and has been super helpful for us during the whole process, now raising the A as well. So we did the interview with Diana. She completely destroyed us in the first call, like bad. Like she's like, wait, you're saying that you're helping your customers do X, but in reality, your contracts say something else. Why is that? It's like, well, like we signed some contracts to like do some consulting things at first, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, let's do something. You're going to get back to work and you're going to redo all your contracts. I don't know, we had like 70K at the time, 70K ARR. You're going to redo all your contracts. You're going to state clearly what you're helping them with or what you're doing for them. And you're saying that you're going to have this cool thing that does whatever, do it, like build it, like show me that you can actually. It's like the most stressful week probably of our lives.
Oh, in a week, to do that in a week.
Yeah. It was like, hey, in 3 days, let's catch up and like.
Okay.
Let's up on Thursday. We'll sync on Thursday again. Like you have me there, like reaching out to like all the customers we had. Like, can you please help me like redo this contract? Let's sign something differently because that's really what we are doing for you guys. Let's reflect it properly on the contract. Blah blah blah. And all the while, like Luis is redoing or like building this stuff that we actually had planned to build in that sprint, which was great. Like we were building that, but it's like, I don't know, it was going to take like two weeks or something.
The urgency. Yeah. It's funny what urgency can do.
So much. I mean, this is crazy. Like with a clear goal and like a target, you can do so much. And we did it actually. We went back to Diana. It's like, hey, this is what we've done. She's like, okay, I'll get back to you guys in a few days. No, please don't do that. Yeah, she did that. He was like, yeah, I'll catch up with you on Monday. Like, you're not going to tell us now? Like, can you please tell us yes or no? I just need to know. And no, it wasn't the case. We actually had like a whole weekend of just like thinking about what's going to happen. If we get in, great. If we don't, it's no big deal, guys. Like almost like convincing ourselves, like it's fine, guys. Like it's going to be a no, so don't worry too much. And then come Monday, it's like, hey guys, you've done a great work, but blah, 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 blah. However, is in the batch, but you have to like demonstrate that you can like target enterprise customers. And that sentence was the problematic thing during the batch. What we were building, and now we can go deep into what happened.
But so they let you in. They just said you have to do this.
If people haven't understood what happened here, yes, they got us in. And we got in. So yeah, the answer was a yes, with a bit of a warning, like, hey guys, looks like you have some traction. People are paying for this thing for whatever reason. Now, the type of customer you're selling to is a tricky one. We were selling to Series A, Series B startups doing computer vision stuff, or basically doing like robotics most of the time, where we would be helping them like do computer vision related tasks. Like we could help them automate the streamline the generation of image of models, or streamline the generation of or the training of AI models for computer vision. Would help them like organize their data sets, find the key images to train or whatever. But really, we struggled a lot with selling into enterprises, and that's what Diana kind of feared, and it was a right fear. Like we almost like felt something was off when we got into the batch, and everyone was like, in these retreat that YC does now, like in person, everyone was like, oh, we're like pivoting, like we don't know what to do. And we would tell our story and they would be like, oh, like you're doing so great. Like you have like ARR already, like you're selling stuff to someone, like that's amazing. But something didn't feel right. And we were right. Something was not right. So during the batch, we struggled a lot to like increase our revenue, like to sell to more people. And eventually we were like, this just doesn't feel right. There's just like not enough pull from these computer vision thing we were doing. Transparently, there's companies that have or are doing great today. RoboFlow is a great example of that. Kudos to them. They're doing great. But we just like maybe were either too late to the party or didn't know how to like pitch that correctly. During, or actually prior to demo day, obviously we're not racing. We decided not to race almost at all. I mean, we had like a few tickets here and there. We actually pivoted slightly in mid-batch. We actually pivoted slightly towards like satellite imagery data. Basically, like we started selling into satellite imagery companies that would like want to find that little car on a like satellite image. So we kind of semi-pivot towards that vertical because we thought that maybe that would help us like find a better ICP, like a better customer persona. And as much as we tried there, we didn't even find the fit yet. So at some point, like prior to demo day, this just doesn't feel good. So on demo day, I literally slag Diana, like, Diana, we're pivoting. Like demo day, like we have, if we have the slides prepared, the presentation prepared, and like we're pivoting, like away completely from this computer vision platform thing that we built, this auto labeling thing. It's like, okay, no worries. Just present what you've done, and what you're doing or have been doing so far. We'll just like think through things later. Next comes the worst month of my life, probably. Super painful pivot hell. We just went to like pivot hell for like a month.
Did you churn all your customers, or like what did you do with your ARR?
Email, Slack, customers like, really sorry. We're moving away from these. Obviously, we'll do good by you guys. We can like help you wrap it up, give you guys like some tools that we've developed internally. Some of the customers actually were like, hey, can we like buy these from you guys? We're like, we don't even have the capacity, the brain capacity now to like think how to like wrap this up and properly give it to you, because like it was a cool platform. Like we had done cool tech with a bit of engineering and like some good engineers and time that you can like replicate that, especially now today with like these models that are like really good, like a SAM V2 or whatever. Like these, click here and like find the like segment these cow or whatever. Like they're so good at like few shot or one shot learning, like just detect all the cows and like it'll detect all the cows, whatever, or find all the cars and you'll find all the cars. So it was almost like a bit of a commodity. So anyhow, we decided not to even like sell these stuff we had built.
And what do you do? Like, what's square one? Do you have at least a space? You start interviewing customers, or like how back to the drawing board do you go?
We go really back. We go back to the drawing board and just like throw everything. Like Luis wanted to build like a English tutor, like an AI tutor thing. Javi.
Oh, you're going all the way. What about, so YC, I'm sure is cool with it, but what about your early investors? Like, were they totally fine with a full pivot?
Not everyone, I will say. We got some folks saying like, I mean, maybe by that time we have like, let's say 7 folks in the cap table. Let's say like some angels, some small VCs or whatever. Some of those, without pointing my finger here, were not cool. And we went through like a bit of a hard time there because, like you hope that your supporting system will support you at times that you need it. And sometimes it actually is not the case. And
the opposite. Yeah.
Well, it was hard. We felt that we were like losers. What are we doing here? Like we've gone through YC and now we don't even know what to do.
Well, yeah, you're like worse off, like, seemingly you're like in a worse place after YC than before. At least from the outside, it's probably that perception.
100%. Yeah, like I guess if we had stayed like in our computer vision arena doing stuff, maybe we could have gone to like some revenue, like just pushing harder. But at some point, it's like, well, yeah, now we're worse off than before. So anyhow, we go for like a month just thinking about stuff. We're based in this apartment in SF. Luis and I were living together. Javi is actually living like up the street with his girlfriend in another apartment, and we're just like every day we just go to the office or our apartment. We go to the living room and we like start thinking about stuff, writing things in the whiteboard, and nothing clicks. And then somebody's like, okay, let's just like build stuff. Let's just like do whatever. And Luis builds like an AI financial assistant, like Copilot thing, like the usual thing that everyone's built. Like, let me find all the reports about public companies and see which one to invest in. I don't know, like the usual thing that people have done with RAG and whatever. So like he built that. I also wanted to like do something on the LLMPs related to voice as well. Luis was the primary proponent of voice as well. Like he just wanted to do something with voice. He's like, actually, let's just like build this 11 Labs thing that people like, 11 Labs, right? Like the
Yeah, of course.
unicorn now building some of the coolest voice technology in the world. And we're like, let's just like try to like compete with that. I'm like, I don't feel like in the right mindset to do that. Why don't we like go into these other tangent, which is like AI agents? Looks like we can verticalize maybe on some vertical and like maybe carry out like or develop or produce some more value add to these verticals. And actually, Javi, he had been CFO of a shipping company. He had been on the logistics side of things for a while. He knew that there was something there with communications. So, meaning when he was the CFO of this largest olive oil distributor, Bertolli, if you use any olive oil, like he was moving this brand Bertolli, and to move stuff from A to B, you need trucking companies. You need a truck. That's messy because trucks break down and there's a lot of issues. So what you do is typically have an intermediary that is called a freight broker. So a freight broker will basically help you like move things around. They'll just like do that white glove support for you. That they'll just like find all the good trucks and like do it for you. So like he was using a freight broker at the time, but even if they were doing that, they still had to like hire interns internally in their shipper in their company to call drivers directly and check on them. Like, hey, Pablo, are you gonna be good for your delivery tomorrow at 5 p.m.? Everything good? Oh, and actually my tire is flat. Oh, perfect. Let me escalate this to so he was like hiring people internally to like bypass that broker as much as they would try to help. And they were great. But he saw that was an opportunity. Like there's something related to like communications and logistics that is broken. The dynamics of the industry are really interesting. There's 95% of the trucking companies in the US are owner operators, pretty much like 10 or less trucks. So there's no easy way to like bring everyone onto the same platforms. So you have like just folks with trucks and phones, and that's it. Like they just use email and they make phone calls. So that was really interesting. It's like, okay, maybe there's something here. So we keep exploring there. After that pivot hell that we have for like a month, we started actually trying to talk to like companies in that arena. Funnily enough, we didn't start directly with like logistics company. We started with moving companies because it was like more attainable. Like we're like, okay, let's try to find like moving companies in the area. Let's see who we can talk to. And then we actually have a session, like a group, like a partner session with one of the YC partners, Tom Blumfield, built like a couple unicorns in the financial space. And he's like, we go to his place. He's like, whatever you do, don't touch healthcare or finance yet. Like, don't do any agents for like healthcare or finance. It's gonna like take a lot of time, especially because we didn't have any expertise in those fields, right? Like, do something I don't know, like simpler, like moving companies. Like, wait, moving companies is it? Like, that's exactly what we've been thinking about. So then we go into that. We find some moving companies. We see that it's not like a great market, anyways, and eventually we transition into the broader like logistics space. Man, you would imagine that logistics is like old fashioned. It is. But there's a lot of money. There's not a lot of margins, but there's a lot of dollars that are moving around, and there's a lot of inefficiencies. So it's like perfect. We found it. We kind of knew that, like We had found something, and it felt right. Fast forward to 2024, like around February, we signed our first.
Because this was when? This was like mid 23 that you're like feeling it.
This Pivot Health thing was in September 23. Fast forward to February 24, we like find our first like customer that is willing to pay $1,000 a month. That's it. Like we somehow convinced these guys to like sign for like $1,000.
And what was V1? What was the product at this point that he's paying for?
The product is these voice agents that basically do a phone call. And we go to them saying, hey, we're building these voice agents, these voice bots that can do or handle all of these phone calls that you guys are handling on a per day basis. We're going to do it for you. And we're just only going to escalate issues to your team, to your reps, to your human reps.
And do you update like a CR? Because they're, like you said, the example was like you're checking in on someone. Hey, you good? You're going to make it. Are you're doing that phone call and then you tie into some CRM, or how are you getting that information back to whoever needs it?
The integration to their system of record, the so-called transportation management system, is key. So we basically integrate to their TMS, and then the bot is able to kind of like handle a phone call from a carrier calling in asking if there's a load available, and then the bot will be like, oh yeah, what's up? I typically do some demos live, so if you let me actually call and like show you guys how.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah.
If I am a driver, I saw a load posted on some online load board. What I'm going to do is call the number I see on the screen. So they call, and then it's a mess. There's a lot of phone calls coming in. The AI will basically, calling on these Dallas to Kansas City I saw online.
Do you see a reference number on that posting?
I think it's going to be 574798.
What's your empty number?
843818.
Thanks. Let me find you guys.
So basically, this is all a rep does every day, all the time. A carrier sales rep, whatever, a fancy term to like one of these figures in a freight broker is doing these all the time. Collecting those details, like the load number they're asking for and their motor carrier number. That was like perfect. That's us. Yeah, that's a great example. That's a great use case. And now it's gonna like find these load and like pitch it to me. So we build this workflow of a super.
This is one pick and one drop. It picks up today in Dallas, Texas, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta go. Actually, I'm in the middle of something here. Thanks so much.
No worries. Feel free to reach out if you need anything else. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
It's pretty cool. You know what's pretty awesome about this is it really bypasses like this AI agents thing. You used to like have to get people to do something new. Like, okay, you should automate this stuff. So get people to use this app or this software. No one does it. People just want to call. Now you just put an AI agent and it's like, hey, do whatever you used to do. You're just not talking to a human anymore, which is so much smoother.
That's the biggest point here. Meeting players where they're at. More apps will not help. There's already like enough tools and apps and dashboards and whatever. Meeting players where they're at, that's huge. Like being able to like communicate with a trucker, with a trucking company, with a driver, a dispatch team from a carrier via email, via phone. That's huge. That's what they use. They don't want to have like another app on their phone. They just don't want to go to another dashboard to like book a load. Some might, but not everyone. And it's just like covering all the surface area that you can. So really these voice agents, now actually we're moving towards like multi-channel agents really, are able to do so. So you can have an assistant or an agent like hearing or picking up a call, and then based on that call, like triggering another email to somebody else. Actually, we have a cool thing now that if the bot determines, so it can like put me on hold and like trigger another call in parallel. A fun use case that we are building now is a driver calls in with an issue. We put them on hold, and we then find the nearest location for them to go and like fix their truck. And then we get back to them like, oh, we found like 3 quotes from 3 different dealers. Which one do you want to go for? So that's huge, right?
This is where verticalization comes in too, because obviously like the voice part of it is the commodity, or at the very least is taken care of, whether it's 11 Labs or, GPT or whatever it is, like that's going to do it. Somebody's doing it at a foundational model. But to understand the specifics and then the integrations, I think, are the other key piece, because it's one thing to answer a phone call and sound realistic and understand. It's another thing to be able to take an action on the ERP for this specific and the CRM, for example, for this specific space, and to be able to do the action that they want you to do, the workflows they want you to do. Like that's where verticalization, I think, comes in and is an edge in the same way that like, anybody can build any SaaS app, but like once you've built a SaaS app, it's still hard to rebuild all those features because there's a lot behind. I think it's the same thing here.
Exactly. That is the mode. Being able to understand the use cases that the customer needs to do, speaking their language, that's huge. Plus, like just connecting to their systems. The voice piece, as you're saying, like we actually build our own like orchestration platform. We do work with 11. They're great. We fine tune some transcribers as well. We use like LLMs out there, like a GPT-4o, like a Gemini, whatever works at the time. We actually fine tune sometimes the model for specific customers. We know we actually started fine tuning Llama 2 and whatever. I don't recommend it today. I mean, at least like 6 months ago, it was like a painful as hell. So definitely don't recommend going down that route today. But yeah, like the tech stack is like plain easy. I mean, people know how to like build voice agents today. Certain tricks and tips that you can do is like, I don't know, interruption handling. That's still hard. Like knowing if you've stopped talking, whatever, like all those like stuff, hard, but doable. The integration, as you're saying, that's the real like mode, like being able to like fully connect to a customer. They trust you. You're their provider now. Boom, like you have a customer for life almost.
And so how fast? So February 1st customer with this new product that obviously you develop over time. Fast like from February 24 to February to December 24, there's a $50 million Series A there. So like, how fast do you things take off? Like, what happens after?
We're at $0 of revenue in January 24. Today we're at 2.2 million ARR. So I mean, could always be better. But what
Nice.
in between, like a lot. One of those things is the Series A, which has been amazing. Like I couldn't think about better partners. ACC folks are just like something else. From day zero before investing at all, they're just like connecting us to all these different potential customers, helping us think through things. I'm really, really great. What happens again is listening to customers, building what they need, and having something that gives them ROI, like showing that these actually is ROI generating. A customer of ours always says, "You're the only platform I got approval for," because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of like, "Oh, well, this is a new platform for automating demand planning, blah, 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 blah." Or like finding that, sure, like it's going to like help like 2x. They needed
It's the
something
no-brainerness. Like that's the thing that I come back to, and it's so hard to, like, I don't know. I mean, when you don't have it, it's hard to use this. But the reality is, like, somebody tells you, "Hey, like you've got a bunch of people taking these like mind-numbing calls all the time. Now an AI could do it." It's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of like when you're gonna do it, who you're gonna do it with, because you're gonna do it. Like it'd be crazy not to. That's the kind of thing that you. And this is a question to you, like in retrospect, how do you find that kind of thing? Because yeah, you want to listen to customers, you want to find ROI, but you were kind of doing that before. Like you were kind of listening to customers in the computer vision thing. You were finding some ROI. It wasn't no-brainer ROI. You know what I mean? Like, what do you now looking back? Like, what would you tell a founder who's still in that stage of, I got a thing, it's kind of working, but it's not like really taking off?
It's a tough one. Find a bigger pain point, but it's easy to say, hard to do. I mean, I don't have an easy answer. It's just like keep exploring, keep talking to those folks, see what is really, really painful. Like people will lie to you. Like they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, this is a nice little thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
I might use it." But if they really scream at you if something breaks, I mean, that's what you wanna see now. And I mean, thankfully today we're at that point. There's less screaming now because we've robustified the platform a lot. But there were some screams like back in summer, like when we were like still robustifying the infrastructure. I mean, we're handling like many thousands of phone calls every day. So it's like in the order of dozens of thousands of calls every day. It's messy. There's a lot of things to build. But when they start screaming if things fail, that's good. If you don't see that, if you don't feel that pain from that pull from the customer, yeah, maybe it's better to like continue exploring, or maybe don't change customers. I mean, something that Michael Seibel always said was also like, enjoy the problem, right? Like find that find that hard problem, change the solution, right? Don't keep changing problems. So I think it's good if you like find something that you kind of are passionate about, or like something about, and like keep drilling down. There might be like a bigger problem that the customer might not even know that they have that problem. We sometimes actually go to customers and we're like, that instead of these things you're asking for, sure, that's nice to do, like easy to do, whatever, we can do it. There's this other thing. They're like, huh, yeah, actually that would bring me like 5x more ROI than the other use case. Yeah, like that's what I was telling you. So sometimes the customer might not even know themselves that they have that pain. So I would say find like a niche that you're like semi-passionate about, you'll get more passionate about it if you're actually doing well. Like I would have never imagined I would be selling to logistics companies, and now like I love it. It's great. Like,
Money talks, man. Money talks. But I agree with it. I know we're getting to the end of this. Like, there's this line, like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger would say, like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I think like the startup equivalent to that is like, an ounce of research is worth a pound of building. I think a lot of folks are stuck in the kind of, I've got the thing, I'm just kind of building where you were with the 50K, 100K ARR. Like, I just need to build a bit more, sell a bit more, and like the thing's going to pop. And as painful as it might be and going through pivot hell, like you go back to the drawing board and you spend that time in the research and the exploring phase till you really find something where it's just true problem, like, and you're going to get that pull. Oh man, the dividends are so big. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but like if you hit it, you'll know the difference and it'll be so worth it. And it's kind of hard to replace if you don't do it.
100%.
Cool, man. Well, dude, it's been great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for taking us through the story. Crazy, crazy ride. I know it's only the beginning, but I think you're in the right place at the right time, building the right thing. And it sounds like you have insane pull. So it's great to see it.
Thank you. Let's see. I appreciate it.
You remember like the first person who told you about Bitcoin, the first person who told you about Uber? You want to be that person because being first is cool. So be a cool person and tell your founder friends. Send it to them on WhatsApp, put it in a WhatsApp group, put it on a Slack channel, let people know about the show, let people know about this episode. Don't let somebody else beat you to the punch and share it with your founder friends first. Remember what Ricky Bobby said. If you ain't first, you're last.